Morning all, hope you're well. So I've been trying for the last couple of weeks to do a 3-month review of the Tuono V4 1100RR. Although I've only had it just over 3 months now because it's taken me so long to get around to doing this. Bike has covered 3,500 miles, which included a 1,900 mile trip to Scotland, taking in all sorts of roads, so motorways and dual carriageways to get up there, and twisties and fast roads whilst we were there. So I think after 3 months got a good handle of what the bike's like. So I've broken it down into likes and dislikes, just to give my view on what I think of the bike. So I'll start with the likes, and the first one be the engine, the sound, the performance. I fitted the Aprilia approved Akrapovic end can, which decats the bike as standard. I do run it without the baffle, and the sound from that V4 is fantastic, and obviously the performance from 175 horsepower engine with relatively little weight. I think they're circa 200 kilos wet. Yeah, the performance is mind-blowing, and the sound is fantastic, so obviously that's a big thumbs up the engine itself. The agility, it really is a fantastic bike to throw through the corners. It just drops on its nose. It always feels planted, even in some appalling weather conditions that we had up in Scotland. Heavy rain. The standard tyres that are on the RR, which are Pirelli Diablo Rosso Corsa 3s, I think they are, never gave any indication of wanting to slide. Grip was fantastic in all conditions, and the feedback through the bars, through the suspension, was ace. So again, agility fantastic. That sort of ties in with my next like, and that's the electronics package. Aprilia have been renowned for fantastic electronics package, and the one on the Tuono is excellent. One of the great advantages over the electronics on this bike compared to other bikes is its ability to adjust things on the fly without having to roll off the throttle, pull the clutch in, or pull over to the side of the road. If you want to adjust the traction control from 1 to 9, there's an up and down paddle that you can just toggle through whilst you're riding along, and it automatically adjusts. If you want to try change the riding mode, just press the starter button while you're riding along and it scrolls through the modes. The only things you need to pull over to change are things like the amount of ABS intrusion and wheelie control. I think that's the only two things that you have to pull over to change. You have to be neutral to go through the menu on that. And the modes themselves, none of them change the levels of traction control. Everything is the same in all the modes. It's just the throttle response and the engine braking that's different. Fuel consumption won't concern many people on a bike like this, and you hear stories of 70-80 miles out of the tank, which is I think 18.5 litres. I must admit, whilst we were touring around doing all sorts of different types of road, it was averaging between 43 and 45 to the gallon, which for a performance bike like that I thought was very good. Yes, if you're going to be ragging it from bend to bend, second and third gear constantly, then that is going to drop. But you don't buy a bike like this for its fuel consumption. But if you want to buy one with a view to using it for longer trips, it's fine. 120, 130 miles before the light comes on, which is plenty of time to stretch your legs and everything like that. So fuel consumption, not bad at all. And then the ergonomics, including the seat itself. Yes, it's got straight bars, but the pegs are quite set back. I'm not sure if they are in the same position as the RSV4, but they are pretty similar, which does put a little bit of weight on your wrists. However, the advantage of this, certainly on long trips, is that you're not sat back on your backside and sat on your coccyx. So after some long days in the saddle, including the getting up there and getting back, which was 450 miles each way, no aches and pains from the rear end. That combination of being canted slightly forward and the seat, it's one of the few bikes I've got off and not had any aches and pains. Slight bit of wrist and ache on journeys where there was perhaps a lot of slow speed stuff. But bike comes with cruise control, so plenty of opportunities on longer runs to set that and have it sit back. So ergonomic wise, it's one of the best bikes I've had to tour on. I've had some sort of sports tourers and BMW GSs, but from the handlebars, feet, peg sort of triangle, very, very comfortable. I'm 5'7" on a good day, and for me it was ideal. So real strong point that was for me on the tour. Grin factor, yeah, I think it speaks for itself. Combination of the sound of the engine, the performance and the handling just makes it a real fun bike to ride. The other bike that I've currently got is a 790 Duke KTM, similar type of bike, apart from obviously not the same level of performance, but I find myself every time I go to the garage, it's the keys for the Aprilia that I take, just because it's got an even bigger grin factor than the KTM. So much so that the 790 Duke's going, I'm going to replace with a 790 Adventure, just so I've got two bikes that are completely different and I can do different types of riding on them. Value for money, at the minute many Aprilia dealers seem to be offering both the RR and the factory with a good couple of £1,000 off the list price, which does make it good value for money compared to its rivals. So yeah, I'll give that a thumbs up. Suspension, the RR comes as standard with manually adjustable Sachs suspension. Didn't go for the factory for a couple of reasons. One, I didn't need the electronic suspension, sorry, and the extra costs that it brought with it. And two, I wanted a decent sized pillion seat for attaching luggage to, etc. But I must say the standard suspension, for me, for my height, for my weight, just on 11 stone, it is set beautifully for the wide range of British roads that we've got. Don't feel it wanting to kick you out the seat on anything but really bumpy roads, and then any bikes will do that. It's compliant enough for touring, it's taut enough for having that scratch round tight A and B roads and mountain passes. Easily adjustable if you want to. I haven't, I've left it stock. I suppose if you were doing lots of track days in the electronic version, because you can adjust it via the handlebars, will be a lot easier to adjust, but again, you've got to know what you're doing. I don't, so I'm quite happy for it to be stock, but must say one of the best out of the box suspension setups that I've had on many a bike. So yeah, well done to Aprilia for setting that up for the British roads. And the brakes, Brembo M50 calipers with 350mm discs up front. The back brake does work, it's not brilliant, but it's better than on some bikes. But the front brakes, apart from the levers look a bit crap, the front brakes are epic, very progressive, not snatchy at all. And the more you pull on the lever, the quicker you stop, knowing that you've got the ABS and that sat behind you and all the different IMUs, etc. So absolutely some top quality parts all round, from the engine, the brakes and the suspension. So I'll move on to a few dislikes. There's not too many of them. One of them is I like to ride all year round, so like heated grips, and Aprilia don't even provide this on the options list. So I've had to fit Oxford heated grips, which work brilliantly, but they just don't look very nice. Headlights, they're not LEDs, they don't seem very bright. I've not personally tested them in the dark as yet, but from being in the garage, turning them on, seeing how the light projects with the garage door shut, I'm not anticipating that they'll be very good. And yeah, if I was doing a lot of night riding, I'd probably look at changing the bulbs. No fuel gauge. Great electronics package, nice TFT dash, but there is a lack of fuel gauge. You've got a fuel light, so it's back to sort of about 10 years ago of bikes with just a fuel light. I've got used to it, it's not an issue, but if you're somebody that likes a fuel gauge for that bit of reassurance as to how much have I got left to push it to the next petrol station or not, you get used to working out roughly what mileage you'll get before the light comes on, and as soon as you see a fuel station you tend to fill up. So that's a bit of a negative in today's day and age. So that's about it for likes and dislikes. So finally, just a couple of things. What have I done to the bike since I've had it in those 3,500 miles? As I said earlier in the video, I've changed the end can. That's one of the main things I've done. The other thing I've done is fitted a Power Bronze double bubble screen. Standard screen you get on it is quite effective, but because I knew I was doing some quite long days in the saddle with the Scottish trip coming up, I decided to fit the Power Bronze one. Does a real effective job. It's a pig to fit, nothing to do with Power Bronze, it's just the way Aprilia fit the screens as standard. Everything is secured behind all the plastics of the dash, and you have to virtually take the whole of the rear part of the front fairing apart to get to the bolts to be able to remove the old screen and put the new one in. So it is a bit of a faff, but it is worth it. I would recommend it, and I think the screen was about £90 or £70, something like that. It wasn't a great deal of money. And the exhaust itself, got a good deal on that, got that fitted for £850 including the map. So again, not too bad for an Akrapovic system, or Akrapovic end can including the D-cat. Apart from then fitting a USB wire so I can charge the phone on the go, that's about it that I've done to the bike. I haven't fitted a tail tidy as yet because I wanted the protection from the rear end on the Scottish trip. Didn't want to be covered in cracks, I knew it would rain, and it's also a pig to get to the bolts. Not much room under the rear seat where the bolts for the standard tail go into, and the other reason is I'm running a Ventura luggage system on it, and that can foul and not fit properly with a tail tidy, so I didn't want to run the risk of that. But the standard tail, it sticks out a little bit, but it's not too bad. It's not my main concern. I know a lot of people, first job they do is pull the tail off and put a tail tidy on, but no, not something that I've been too worried about. Other things that I might change if I get to that, possibly the levers, just because they are the standard silver levers that you get on most bikes and they just look a bit cheap, but they do their job. Foot pegs, they're fine, they're in the right place for me. I'm not fussed about chopping and changing them. The seat, as I've mentioned already, I find perfectly comfortable for me. And if I was doing more night riding, then yes, I would probably change the bulbs. I know you can buy these LED projector type bulbs as a straight swap over, so I'd probably do that. So I suppose to finish off, what would I give the bike as an overall rating out of 10? And I'd give it probably a good solid 9 out of 10. The few dislikes are more than outweighed by the positives of the bike. One thing I didn't mention earlier, and it's not a like or a dislike, and that's the gearbox. It's very good with its quick shifter and its blipper. It just can be very hard work sometimes to find neutral, especially if the bike's relatively cold and so as an example, my local petrol station's half a mile away, so quite often for a ride I know I need fuel, I'll get on the bike, ride to the fuel station and fill up there before going out on the ride. Get into the fuel station, trying to find neutral, amount of times I've ended up just putting the stand down in first gear because I cannot get neutral, and then once the bike's shut off, neutral's found pretty easy. Once the bike's warm and you're usually at traffic lights, there's not usually a problem, but I've seen other users on forums mention the same problem, doing the neutral dance on the gear stick, trying to find first. It just keeps flipping up first, second, second, first. It is very difficult, but yeah, it can be a pain when you've parked up and all your mates are off their bikes and you're still dancing around, so you do end up just turning the bike off in first and then selecting neutral once the bike's off, and it's usually okay. So I put up a few pictures at the end of the bike, just showing you what it looks like. Oh, just one thing quickly to touch on. People always say Aprilia's reliability. 3,500 miles in. I know it's only 3 months, but that's effectively a lot of people's years mileage. No issues, and again I will touch wood, no coughs, no splutters. It can be on a cold morning on the starter motor, you think, oh, is it going to fire? Because it's one of those bikes that can take a few turns before it fires into life. It's not like the modern Suzukis where you literally touch the starter and they fire into life. But now I keep it on a battery conditioner because the batteries are known for not being the most powerful batteries, and they don't take long to start losing charge with the standard immobiliser that's fitted. But no, I will touch wood once again, reliability has been very, very good. So yeah, hope you found that of interest. If you did, please give us a thumbs up. If you didn't, thumbs down. Please subscribe along the bottom, and any comments, please feel free to leave them. Any suggestions that you want to, on videos that you want to see about the bike, anything that I might have missed out. I've tried to cover as much as possible in as short as time. But yeah, I'll be hoping to make some more videos through the winter once I get the 790 Adventure, so some different routes to ride on that, looking for byways and roads with grass down the middle, which is not something that the Aprilia would be used for. So hopefully some more content to go up over the course of the winter. So everybody stay safe, don't let this COVID situation get you down, keep your mental awareness and health as best you can, stay shiny side up, and I shall see you again soon. But until next time, bye, ciao.